4 days, New York Jets fans. That is all. Just 4 days until Gang Green kicks off their home opener, season opener, MetLife Stadium, taking on Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I got to tell you, I'm not gonna ramble on about this for 20 minutes. But every now and then, even though I talk about this team constantly, think about them way too often, I mean, we all know this. We all know the storyline, right? The Rodgers, the former Jet, is going to take on Fields, the former Steeler, and first time in history, and Rodgers' Hall of Fame career, and Aaron Glenn sends him, kicks him to the curb and all that. But I was working on something the other day, and I realized as I opened my laptop, because I don't know about you guys, but I do this and I forget stuff. I stuff just becomes part of the wallpaper, as they say, right? Things that are there, but you don't notice them. And it hits me as I open my laptop, like, oh, I still have that Aaron Rodgers carrying the American flag out of the tunnel. That's still my desktop background because I never look at it, so I never notice it. I'm like, oh, I think it's time to change that, so I switch it to something else. And then it hits me. We all know the insanity around this team, the swings and the shifts and the ups and downs, mostly downs. But it's like, God, I mean, the crash from the euphoria of the Rodgers deal, the Rodgers that night, that moment, that season opener, to well, not today, but to this Sunday, is like, you can't get farther apart. There's a report right now, a tweet from Rich Cimini, my guy Dom's favorite reporter. Love you, Dom. I just, Cimini shoots out this tweet that whatever ticket seating analytics company, whoever, I forget who, they've said that they're expecting this Sunday's game to be roughly 48% Steelers fans. No, I mean, that wouldn't surprise me. Jets fans sell their tickets. Oh, I mean, I had season tickets. I've been to many a game where I'm like, damn, I feel like I'm at a road game. I don't feel like this is a home game right now. It's a little more disheartening when it's the home opener. But that just goes to speak to the state of this franchise and fan base right now. It is your home opener. And we'll see. Like I said, I had a little exchange with Dom on Twitter. And we'll see if Cimini's right. Maybe he's wrong. Maybe we tune in and you watch the game and you're like, oh, that's 30% Steelers. That's 20% Steelers fans. 50-50 is pretty clear. And 52-48 ain't far off. That's pretty obvious. If it's 1 out of 2, it's going to stand out. It's going to jump out on your TV screen. So to go from that, to go from Rodgers out of the tunnel with the flag and the lights and everybody going nuts, 2 years later, half the crowd projected to be visiting team fans. It's wild. It's wild, man. The ups and downs of this team. Like I said, the ups are not very many, but it's like for every little glimmer, you can't even call it. All that was hope with Rodgers. Nothing even good came of it. Even the Jets get to experience one modicum of one iota of happiness or optimism, and the football gods are like, you're going to pay for this. You're going to pay dearly. You enjoyed your fandom for half an hour. No, you're not getting off easy. You're going to pay quadruple. I would have gone higher, but I don't know what comes after quadruple, so I apologize. But yeah, it just hit me the other day, and I was like, that Rodgers deal, even at the time, what did I say a million times? People got tired of hearing me say it. People were killing me on Twitter for it. They're not a fan. I was like, hey, man, if Rodgers comes, it's probably 1 year, and 2 is a pipe dream, but anything beyond that is not happening. He's not going to be here more than 2 years. End up getting 1 year and 5 wins at Rodgers. All that happiness, all that optimism, all that high flying, good feelings. 5 wins, 6 wins, whatever the hell it was. Who knows anymore? I already forgot. He gets the win for the game he came out of, the opener, because he started that game. which is stupid. Statistically, it goes in his category. But yeah, so that's a story from that's a tweet from Samini that he's expecting 50-50. John Simpson, the most newsworthy injury on the roster, as far as I'm concerned. Tyrod Taylor, some questions there, but he's he's dinged up. He's going to be dinged up anytime he gets on the field. Uh, you know, unlikely he plays anyway. If it's unlikely they go to the backup. I think Justin Fields going to hang in there for a little while. And I just think he's going to take a beating over the course of the season. I would expect Justin Fields to miss some football games this year. It's just a matter of how many. Could be one or two. It's not. He's not a 37-year-old guy who you're looking at going, he's going to miss a chunk at some point. So yeah, I'm not too concerned about that. John Simpson, however, that is concerning. Best O lineman last year. High expectations for him this year. And he's been dinged up. He's missed some time in the preseason. We talked about it. Joe Tippmann started for him a couple weeks ago. And Aaron Glenn was asked about it during his presser with the media today, and very non-committal, very wouldn't answer. And there'll be an injury report at some point. But Aaron Glenn was asked, is John Simpson practicing? And he said, most of the guys will practice today. And then he was asked to clarify, right? Like, does that include John Simpson? Is John Simpson, Tyrod Taylor, are they practicing today? Most of our guys are practicing today. So non-committal, but then for the portion of practice that was open to the media, Connor Hughes tweets out that Simpson and Taylor are out there in pads. Awesome. That doesn't tell us how much they practiced. And again, this point in the year, the media is not out there for the entire session. They're out there for a little bit, and then they got to go. So just because a guy was out there in pads doesn't mean he went full, doesn't mean he practiced, did everything. Could have been limited, could have come out and stretched, and then said, you know what, I don't think I can go today. So we don't know if they practiced. Aaron Glenn did say he would update the press if anything else arises. I'm assuming he means when he meets with them tomorrow. So we'll see if we'll see what Aaron Glenn has to say about the status of John Simpson. Excuse me, but listen, you need John Simpson. This is a good football team, the Steelers, and I think that a lot of people kind of, if you look at this Jets schedule, probably the most winnable game on the schedule, especially when you consider things like Aaron Rodgers' age, Aaron Rodgers' lack of reps with his new teammates. We saw the slow start last year, but of course I think that was Achilles related as well. But I think that if Aaron Rodgers is anywhere near as slow as he was, even midseason, he's an older guy. He's going to take a while to get going. I think this Jets defense, I think they have a chance to rattle him. I think they have a chance to slow him down. And if the Jets running game can get going, which John Simpson would be a big part of, they got a shot. But if it's going to be Joe Tippmann at guard, and Myers at center, I think that's going to hurt them. That's a significant downgrade in talent along the offensive line, so that'll hurt. But we're gonna do Jets Steelers preview tomorrow night. Tonight is more about just seasons here. Let's look at the roster. Let's go group by group. We've talked about it in bits and pieces throughout the year, or throughout the offseason, I should say. When the 53 came out, we talked a little bit, but now that the 53 has been tweaked, no major changes, but some guys that were here are gone. Some guys that were gone are here. Tyler Johnson on the practice squad, but Darren Muji mentioned him the other day as one of their receivers when talking about the receiver room. So not really a great sign, though, is it? If you think about it, if you have a guy who you view as like, this dude is one of our starters, but we're just going to go ahead and move him on and off the practice squad as need be, that means you're acknowledging no one else wants him. Because once you're on the practice squad, another team can snatch you up. Right? Now I can see him putting Quinn Williams on the practice squad to make room for somebody. Oh, he's one of our guys, but as long as he's on the practice squad, he's under contract. No. And I'm not saying you should be putting Quinn Williams there, but it's not a great sign when a guy that you're and listen, I like Tyler Johnson. You can, I'm sure if he sucks with the Jets, I'll hear about it because I got the pre-draft tweet saying he was going to be a good player and all that. So I like Tyler Johnson. But when you can take a guy that you view as like, hey, this is one of our dudes, and you're like, but we're going to put him on the practice squad for a little while. Not the best sign. Not the best sign. And look, for those of you unfamiliar, if a guy does want to get taken off a practice, or if a team does want to take a guy off your practice squad, the player has the ability to decline. So it's possible if another team wanted it. The Jets might be saying, look, we want you, and we're going to give you a bigger role than anybody out there. So if another team comes knocking, you can go, but you're going to be their receiver 6. Whereas here, you're the receiver 4 or 5, or depending on where Arian Smith is and all this. But basically, you're going to have a bigger role with us than you will with anyone else. So your decision. So in that case, if Johnson agrees, like, yeah, man, put me on the practice squad, and I don't think anybody else is going to give me a bigger shot than you are. So I'm just going to decline anyone that wants to poach me. So that is a possibility, but I can't imagine there are a ton of teams banging down the door. And again, player that I like, player who I think can be solid. I think he'd be better than people realize. But not. I'm not sitting here saying he's going to be a superstar. So we're going to go up and down the roster. We're going to look at every position and just kind of say where do I feel comfortable with where this team is at in terms of personnel? Where am I concerned? And where am I just like good talent, but maybe not enough depth? Good talent, but maybe have a little more to prove, but not disastrous. Like, I'm not screaming my head off that this group is terrible. There's one group that kind of falls in between, where I'm concerned but optimistic, and I would put meh, don't love it, don't hate it, somewhere in the middle. So let's start it off. Positions where I'm feeling good. I don't know about you guys. I would think most fans agree with this. Offensive line. To me, top group on the team, top to bottom, even with Membu being a rookie. This was one area. And I'm going to sort of interject some notes about Darren Muji as well and his approach to building this whole thing. Muji, listen, one advantage he had that previous GMs didn't, and I mean the last several GMs, not just Douglas, but Idzik, McCagnon to a degree. Muji didn't have to find 5 new linemen. Muji needed 1. He walked in the door, he had 4 good ones. 4, and a few of the good ones potentially, Olu Fashanu's got all-pro potential. AVT, if he can stay healthy, all-pro potential. Joe Tippmann, maybe not all-pro, but I would say he's got high-level starter potential, like top 5 at the position type of potential. John Simpson was damn good last year. In my mind, played borderline Pro Bowl level. And all of them young, right? I've had this conversation. I've had people say to me, oh, Idzik inherited a really good line. Like, he inherited guys who were at the end. He had Brick and Mangold when they had a year or two of average football left. He didn't get those guys in their prime. Muji, find one guy. And we hope he did with Armand Membu, who, well, we'll talk about that tomorrow, but he's got quite the assignment on Sunday. So offensive line, Olu, Simpson, if he's healthy, Tippmann, AVT, Membu, you got to love that line. Not just the talent, like I've said. I've said it. Everybody's talked about the talent level and the youth. Like, you can't not be optimistic about this O-line, which is huge because, we hear it all the time. If you can win up front, you can beat teams. We've seen many times throughout, if you've been watching this game for any decent length of time, every now and then you see a team where it's like, oh, the quarterback isn't that good. And the running back isn't that good. But damn, that dude always has time to throw. And the back always has a decent-sized hole to run through. And you can produce. So the O-line, got to like what they have up front. The next group, I would say, is the running backs. And listen, from top to bottom, from top all the way to the practice squad. Right? You got Breece Hall, who is likely the bell cow. However, we talked about this the other day with Scott Mason. I would not be surprised if Breece Hall isn't the leading rusher for the Jets this year. And Braylon Allen could see some carries when Breece Hall is splitting out, lining up in the slot, lining up outside, or just joint backs, having, a dual threat, triple threat, really, backfield with Justin Fields. So those two guys, Allen and Hall, we'll see who the leading rusher is. Again, I think there's a good chance it's Allen, but I think Hall will have more yards from scrimmage. And then you got Isaiah Davis behind them, who looks like he's going to be a solid player. And then you just brought back Lawrence Toafili, who, if you remember, he had himself a pretty good preseason when he had the opportunity. Kid out of Florida State, who I really like. I think that catching the ball out of the backfield is where he can really excel. So I think he can be a dual threat guy if he ever gets onto a roster, an active game day roster. That remains to be seen. Linebacker, listen, teams are in sub packages majority of the time nowadays. I feel like I look at these depth charts and it's, Marcelino McCrary Ball is listed as a starter. Okay. But the majority of the time, it's going to be Jamie and Sherwood in the middle, Quincy Williams on the outside, and, in whatever variety of formations they get deployed in. I think, and again, I think good job by Muji to get Jamie and Sherwood re-signed. I did not expect that. I thought that Aaron Glenn was going to say, find me a bigger dude, a bigger athletic guy to put in the middle, either draft, free agency, whatever. They didn't do that. And they bring Sherwood back. So good job. I like that move. I think Sherwood was a guy who, I said it, his first couple preseasons, his year one and then year two, I was like, that guy looked noticeably better from year one to year two. Year three, I was like, okay, now I think this dude is ready to play. Like, give him some starts. And when CJ Mosley went down, Sherwood looked really good as a first-year starter at a position, as we know, that he transitioned to. So I like the linebacker group. Again, I think, and I do think Marcelino McCrary Ball, if he gets on the field, if they have to play him at some point, I thought he looked impressive in the preseason. Of course, the knuckleheaded penalty early on isn't something that folks are going to like. I really like Mawagoa. I know he's a rookie, but I liked him a lot in college. I think he's going to be a solid linebacker. And for those of you who hadn't heard, they added Cam Jones. I think we discussed that from the practice squad, or they added him. He was a waiver claim, sorry, and was added to the roster. So these are guys. Jones probably more of a special teamer, but solid against the run. I think that the linebacker group is pretty good, or more than pretty good. I think they can be really good. I think Quincy Williams, as I've said before, he's one of my breakout candidates. I think we're going to see a career year out of him. He's going to be asked to blitz more than he ever has, and I think he's the guy who can get home. He's got that ability. Corner, love the corner group. I would actually put them above the linebacker group now as I look at it. And look, Sauce and Brandon Stevens. And to be fair, I'm basing this largely on what we've seen from Stevens in camp. And we do have those years. And I've said it at times, and you don't want to get too hyped up over camp, right? It's not the real thing. We've seen a million times as fans. We see these really good camps, and then guys just flop when the season starts. And that could happen. I'm not saying it won't. I still don't love the move. I don't love, again, Muji's approach here. In my mind, you had too many needs. Like the way they treated corner this offseason, that's fine if you're a 10, 12 win team. If you want to say, you know what, we're going to give this corner $12 million and we're going to draft another one with a premium pick, and he's going to be our third. He may not see the field. Why are you doing that? You're now sitting here with one wide receiver. Arian Smith, I get it. Some tools, intriguing, still raw. We saw some drops in the preseason, just as we saw drops in college. I feel like there were some receivers still on the board when the Jets took Thomas that they could have taken, and you'd still be solid at corner. Obviously, with Michael Carter at nickel, maybe with receiver being the bigger need. Honestly, I would have preferred they flip that and take a receiver early and grab another corner later. However, it's not saying the book is written or this is it's the move can't work out. And I said this at the time, like if they had Azariah Thomas graded that high, that they felt like, you know what, even though we don't need this guy right now, and we have other needs that we can address in this spot, we like this guy so much we're taking him anyway. Like if he ends up being a stud, great. But you spent $12 million on a guy in Stevens who he's got $12 million. He's playing. So if he plays well, if he plays up to the money, the price tag that you paid him, then Thomas, isn't going to be a regular player. And I feel like that could have been handled a little better. But because they did it, then I'm going to give them a little credit and say, all right, well, now whether it was the right pick or not, or you should have gone a different direction, it's a really good group of corners. Or at least that's the expectation. Of course, again, Sauce Stevens looked much better than I expected. And Michael Carter, one of the best nickels in the league. Stiggers, I really like. I honestly like JBC better. I think Stiggers might have the higher ceiling, but I think JBC right now, if you had to put either one of those guys in a game, I think JBC would play at a higher level, but he is now gone, obviously. Um, Claimed off waivers when the Jets let him go. I would imagine they were planning on bringing him back, but that didn't work. But that's it for me. For the four groups I feel good about: O-line, running back, linebacker, corner. That's it. That's my good. Those are the groups I look at and go, those aren't going to be a problem this year. As long as everybody's healthy, no issues there. Now on to the middle ground. The what do they call it? Purgatory. Like, you're not up here and you're not down there. You're kind of in the middle. So that would include, and this is more, these top two really are about depth. And it's the D line. D tackle, D end. Love the group. The starters, fantastic. Behind them, a lot of questions. And the reason why I don't have the edges listed with the groups I feel really good about is just I got to see Jermaine Johnson. I know he says he feels 100%. Guess what? Every player says they're 100%. When was the last time you saw a dude coming off an injury saying, I can't wait to play, and they activate him and he goes, I don't think I'm ready. I think I'm at about 58%. No, everybody's like, I'm raring to go. Never felt better. Stronger than I've ever been. And that's pretty much what Jermaine Johnson said. And God bless him, and I hope he's right. And I hope he has a 5-sack season opener and erases any questions or doubts. But until we see him do it, I'm going to look at it like he is an edge guy coming off a major injury, an Achilles, and he's going to be pushing up against 320-pound men and trying to move them around. Will he be able to do that at a very high level early on? I would imagine no, and I would imagine it's going to be at least half a season till he is able to do that. Again, hope I'm wrong. But that's why the edge has me worried, because not a lot behind that. Listen, I like Braden McGregor. I said last year I thought he was improving before they kind of sat him and went to Watts, so we didn't see as much of him. Michael Clemens, to me, situational guy. He can be a valuable piece. The guy gets a ton of hate. I understand there's times where it's frustrating. The penalty thing, this is one of those long-living myths with Michael Clemens. The guy doesn't get nearly as many penalties as people thought. Oh, he's a walking penalty machine. He gets like 2 or 3. However, they're kind of crazy. So they stand out and we remember them. And one Michael Clemens penalty feels like 20 normal dude penalties, right? So I get it. But it's because his penalties are so, what the hell was he doing? That it feels like, oh my God, he's always doing something. Not the fact. Look, there's the way things feel and the way things really are. And it feels like Michael Clemens gets a ton of penalties, but he really doesn't. And I said this all of last year, and I hope it's been coached out of him. We do see him bite too often on fakes where he crashes down inside and misses the play going right behind him. We saw it against the Bills to help the Bills clinch the game. We saw it early in the year. I forget who it was against in the end zone. I forget who it was. My memory, it's gone. But I know that we saw several plays last year where teams ran to Michael Clemens' side knowing that he was going to over pursue, and he did, and they took advantage of it. So not great. But on as a situational player, and this is why I thought it was funny, because so many people assumed he would be cut. I think I was on that bandwagon for a little bit myself. And it was one of those where I wasn't entirely on board with the idea, but sometimes you just get to the point where you're like, you know what? It's time. Like, it's kind of like when they fired Rex, right? I was a big Rex stan. I loved them. I liked playoff games, and they won some of those under him. That doesn't happen often. Then we're not going to relive the Rex thing now. But with the Rex thing, I was like, you know what? I love him. Appreciate everything he did, but it's time. It's time for him to go. Didn't want him to go, but understood it was time for him to go. And that's kind of how I was with Clemens at points this year, or this offseason, where I was like, I'm not as down on him as other people. Yes, you have frustrating moments. Yes, he does some silly stuff you'd rather he didn't, but he'll move on. And then as the preseason went on, or as the offseason went on, and I tweeted about it a couple times, kind of, I don't know, just having a little fun with it. Like, oh, kind of weird. Michael Clemens still on the roster. Isn't that strange? And then as it became clear he would make the roster, I thought, he's he had 5 sacks last year. Not as bad as fans make him out to be. Put it that way. He's not going to be a great edge rusher. He's not going to be a 8, 9, 10 sack guy. But as a backup, he has value. As a starter, you don't want him out there every play. Teams are going to expose him at some point, and he's going to give up a big play. But overall, the edge group, love the starters. Backups, questionable. Like I said, Clemens, nice backup, but not an impact. He's not going to make impact plays. And sometimes you need that from other guys other than your starters. McGregor, I like the progress he showed last year. Tyler Barron, their last pick, didn't really show anything this preseason. So we'll see what happens with him. So I'm like, all right. Edge guys, fine. Don't love them, don't hate them. And then this is the purgatory group, the safeties. I'm not concerned, but I'm not really loving it. Even though I've said I think Andre Cisco is one of my breakout guys. I've said that 50 million times. People are tired of hearing it. That's fine. But I think Cisco's going to have a big year for them. I think he could be a 5-interception guy at safety, which this team has not had in a very long time. Tony Adams, I'm not sure his job is going to be safe all year. I think guys are going to challenge for that. I'm trying to remember. Just pulling up the depth chart here. Yeah, so I think Isaiah Oliver, who's a backup, if Tony Adams isn't a big hit, I could see Oliver getting some reps. I could see Malachi Moore getting some reps back there. They moved him around a little bit this preseason. I think he can be a chess piece for them, and I think a lot of people feel like he'll be a starter at some point. And it wouldn't shock me if by midseason, if not earlier, if Malachi Moore is starting. But again, I think there's some potential there to put up some big numbers. It's at the safety spots, but it's not something we've really seen. So it's more potential than proven. So that's why I'm in between with that group. So those are the groups I'm in the middle on, right? Interior D-line, edge, and safety. Concerns. Where should we be worried, Jets fans? I think part of it is pretty obvious when you're talking quarterback, Justin Fields. We're not going to beat that dead horse. Okay, the Justin Fields story is well documented. The high pick, busted in Chicago, played okay in Pittsburgh. I think overrated by some people. And I've had this conversation. You go back and watch what he did in Pittsburgh. He was efficient. Everything was quick, short throws around the line. Now was that by design? Was that the coaching staff telling him to do that because they didn't think the O-line could block? Was that the coaching staff telling him to do that because they didn't think he could do any more than that? Or was that him doing that because he didn't believe himself that he could throw the ball down the field? We don't know. We're not in these people's heads. We can only assume, right? But rather than assume, we'll just say what we know. He lived 10 yards and in with Pittsburgh. And he'll do that a lot this year. We've heard about that too. But and he's going to run his behind off. And I'm looking forward to that. I've said that I think even though he's not the passer Aaron Rodgers is, this offense might be more efficient with Justin Fields in there based on the way the Jets are going to run it. It's going to be run heavy and Justin Fields heavy in terms of on the ground. But even if that works, even if it's efficient, even if you're winning some games, you will, as a quarterback in the NFL, if you're going to be good, if your team is going to be good, there are going to be times where you're going to be down late and everyone's going to look at you and go, we need you to connect on some bombs right now. We need a 25-yard out. We need a 30-yard, whatever. Like, we got to move the ball down the field in a hurry. We got a minute and 10 seconds and we got to go 77 yards. We need some big throws. We can't just dink and dunk our way down. And that's when Justin Fields is going to be tested. And that's when we'll find out if he's going to be the guy. But where we have to be fair to Justin Fields in the next two groups that I'm not thrilled with and nobody should be. Wide receiver and tight end. Now, these are the guys Justin Fields needs. to make the plays, if he's going to make the throws. And again, I don't know how much we need to beat that dead horse. Wide receivers, Garrett Wilson, and a bunch of Josh Reynolds. Talked about it last week, talked about it a couple times this offseason. Watch him on film and think, oh, he's better than I thought. But he was hurt for a lot of last year and didn't really play. He's not a very young guy. Didn't really show anything this preseason. So is he going to be solid? We know Garrett Wilson's going to draw doubles all day until somebody else makes a play. I think, and as I said earlier, I think Braylon will lead the team in carries because I think Breece is going to line up as a receiver or get targeted a ton. I would expect him to be the second leading receiver. Mason Taylor, I like the kid. I like the pick. I'm just not expecting a whole lot from a rookie tight end. It's rare that you see rookie tight ends have huge impacts. Doesn't mean he can't have a 500-yard season. But, all right, if Garrett Wilson's getting doubled and tripled, and he gives you another, 1,100-yard type season, what's everybody else doing? Someone's got to step up. Is it going to be Allen Lazard? Historically, based on history, you would think no. He's another one. He gets killed for all the drops. It's, but he does make some plays. What do you have? 4 or 5 touchdowns early in the season last year. Lauren, how we doing? Says Lazard is wide receiver 2. I think he's gonna use a big slot. I think Reynolds is gonna be wide receiver 2 opposite Garrett, and Lazard is gonna be in the slot. And listen, where that's gonna come in handy again, this team is going to run a lot, and that's why having Reynolds and Lazard on the field at the same time, put those guys on the same side of the field, on the strong side. Whoever your blocking tight end is going to be, Jelani Woods. I don't know how much that guy's going to play early on. I hope to goodness he can stay healthy because that dude's a beast. He's a beast. I shared a tweet the other day. This was a tweet that I sent the year Woods was coming out. And I said, if you're looking for a developmental raw tight end, look at this dude, Jelani Woods. And this is a play where he was completely off balance, sloppy, falling. But even with that being the case, he's knocking dudes over. Like he's running guys over the way you expect a ball carrier to do it when he's running like a freight train. Upright, full head of steam, lower your shoulder, plow through the guys. That's what you're expecting. The people commenting were like, yo, dude looks like he's running with high heels on. He does. And he's knocking them on their asses. How crazy is that? It's nuts to me. I looked at him and thought, this guy could be a really good player. Gets drafted by the Colts, has a solid rookie season, puts up 400 or 500 yards. Hasn't played since. Injuries. 2 years on the shelf. Let's see. Beloved Peace, how we doing, beloved? Says, are you believing the consensus about the Jets being a team that has a top 3 pick? I don't think this team is that bad. I could see it. I said 6 wins, which doesn't get you a top 3 pick. But, seriously, being honest with yourself, is it crazy to say this team starts 1-5? God forbid 0-6 if they lose the opener. Like, it's a tough stretch after that Pittsburgh game. And if Rich Cimini is right, or if the information he was given was correct, you're not even getting home field advantage at your first game. Home opener, 50-50. No. In fact, if you get down in that game, if you're trailing, the Steelers get home field advantage. Because those Steelers fans are going to get loud. And it's going to be like another road game. So you start off 1-5, 0-6, even 2-4, 2-5. You don't think this group of guys, especially the guys who've been here for a few years, just getting beat down, winning 4 or 5 games every damn year, you don't think they're going to be like, oh, man, here we go again, and kind of maybe lose interest, get a little bit distracted. They're human beings, man. I'm not saying they're going to quit and pack it in and not try, but I think it gets harder and harder to win when you just all you know is losing. And since getting here, the guys who've been here for a few years, that's all they know is losing. And if all they do is lose early on, I could see it falling apart again. I said, what did I say? Between 4 and 6 wins was the most likely. I took the ceiling there, if you want to call it that, and said they win 6. But I also said, and not trying to be, completely negative here. If the coaching staff if it clicks right off the bat, the talent in terms of you look just at the talent and the schedule, like if you gave this team a good, like a proven head coach, I'd be like, oh yeah, they can win 8 or 9 games for sure. And a proven staff, like someone who's proven shown they can develop a quarterback. I'd say, yeah, they could be playing meaningful games in, down the stretch in December, final couple weeks. Those games might matter. But to ask, a nearly all rookie staff, to win with a quarterback who's on his third team in 3, and Muji said it the other day, right? Darren Muji was talking about Justin Fields. He's gotten better through camp. He looked great this week, but you got to be patient. I don't think he used the word patient, but he was basically saying, listen, Justin's on his third team in 3 years, 3 coordinators, 3 coaches. There's a lot of you got to turn this ship around, kind of making it sound like this might take a little while. Don't expect great things right away. And I don't. I expect functional offense, but the thing is, beloved piece, we talked about this the other day. If you looked at, there was a tweet that went out a few weeks ago. I forget who sent it out, but I don't know if it went viral. I always assume if I see a tweet 3 or 4 times, like that's enough times for me to be like, okay, that's going around a lot. Like that's got to be viral because I'm not Adam Schefter. I don't have 10 million followers. But if I see a tweet 5, 6 times, 4, 5, 6 times, I'm like, this is making the rounds. A lot of people are seeing this. So there was a tweet the other day that said, NFL teams, number of games NFL teams have played without an offensive touchdown over the past. It was like what went back like 4 or 5 years, 6 years, however many years. The Jets had 30 games without a touchdown. And the next closest team, which I cannot remember who it was 19. So the Jets are sort of in a class of their own when it comes to not scoring touchdowns. And you've now got a quarterback who's trying to turn his career around, a receiving core that has one proven receiver, and a tight end group that has nobody proven. So, I mean, that doesn't add up to a lot of points in my mind. But if they try to beat everybody 17-10, 17-14, and they just pound the ball and control the clock and go old school Mark Sanchez style, except Sanchez being able to run like the wind. As I've said, there is a map, a path to 8 or 9 wins. It's just the likelihood of it. I mean, come on. Vegas says 5.5. I said they win 6. Vegas odds the other day, Jets over under win total 5.5. So right in that ballpark. Let's see. New Jersey Lauren says, did I see what Aaron Glenn said in his presser about a successful season? I did. He said his idea of a successful season is if the fans are proud of the team at the end of the year. Okay. All right. I mean, honestly, I think 7, 8 wins. I think a lot of fans will. They'll feel like, all right, we're turning this around. More wins than previous years, and year one of a new coach. Play competitive football. I think fans will be proud. Might be a big word, but yeah, I think that would be okay. I think going into year 2 of Aaron Glenn, if there's a little momentum that you got better from the previous several years. But I mean, we're talking about a fan base that, again, if Rich Cimini's right, fan base that just sold half their tickets for the season opener, which is Listen, like I said, I've been to games where Jets fans are in the minority. Nothing worse than walking out of there having Pats fans chant Patriots chants, Dolphins fans Any team. Division rival is always worse. But going through that, it sucks. But man, if that happens in the opener, like I was trying to fly out. I've been looking at tickets and prices, flights for months now, waiting for like the right price. And it's going to try to take a military flight out, which is like free, but you get like 3 days notice. You can't like book it. The military is just like, hey, it's a flight Wednesday. You want it? And it's like, we have to have room for you and you have to show up. And we still might not have room. We might have room when you get there. And then someone else more important than you gets on and you got to go because you're not paying for this. So that was like a gamble I was going to take. And I'm looking and looking and waiting. And then I was actually going to start looking at flights in a couple days because they release them 3 days in advance. And looked at my damn passport the other day. It expires in 3 weeks. And you got to have more time than that. I called them up. They're like, no, we're not letting you fly in a passport that expires in 3 weeks. So now I can't go. I was hoping. So I'm trying to get to the game from England. Would have cost me, $1,500, $2,000 in hotels and God knows how much in tickets. And like, I want to go. And then you see this tweet that like, fans who live 10 minutes from the stadium sold their tickets. They're not going. It's like, oh. But listen, everybody fans different, right? Not everybody's the same. Carlos, look, we all hope they surprise people. I hope they go undefeated, and I know what you mean though, Carlos. I said they could win 9 if everything goes right. Hopefully everything goes right and I'm wrong and they win 11. Obviously. Have more faith in the defense. Now, are you saying you do or I should? Because I do have a good amount of faith in this defense. I do. Like I said, questions about guys coming back from injury. I think beefing up the interior of the D-line is huge. I said many times this offseason that was my biggest on-field concern on defense anyway. Really, of everything, even with Justin Fields, because of the offense they're going to run, I think there's a chance he'll be decent. But I just felt like without a guy like Harrison Phillips, without a true, proven, run-stuffing DT, a legit guy, I felt like without that guy, you're going to have a hard time stopping the run this year. So I think he does a lot for them. Let's see. Lauren says first time she's seen a coach. I'm sure they have over the years. They do every now and then. They talk about the fans. Rex did all the time because Rex, the background and Buddy having been here. But I just think it's different with Glenn because he played here, and he'll give the politically correct answer no matter what. But if they lose this game on Sunday and the fans are drowned out by Steelers fans, he's not going to love that. But even if he gets asked, he's not going to say anything about it. It probably, look, we got to be better. The 14-year playoff drought, fans aren't going to come out, that type of thing. He's not going to bash the fans. And he's the coach. That's just not good business. That's not something you do like your first game and then come out and rip them. Not something you'll see. They even had Rex. I remember Rex did like a recorded phone call before a big game to like season ticket holders, like everybody wear white, like white out. Come on, let's do it. So Rex was, you do hear coaches mention them from time to time, but it was interesting for Aaron Glenn because what was Salah's thing? Just get better every day. If we're better than we were when we started, that's successful. Like, is it though? If you really sucked and you got a little better, is that success? So yeah, good on Aaron Glenn for bringing that up. But yeah, if I had to rank them real quick, how good I feel, how good I don't feel, I'd go O-line 1, running back 2, linebackers 3. I'm going to flip that. No, I'm going to leave that. O-line, running back, linebackers, corner, DTs, edge, safety, quarterback, tight end, wide receiver. Wide receiver is the biggest concern for me because all you got is Garrett who's going to get doubled. Beyond that, we have no idea if any of these guys are going to get open. Again, Tyler Johnson, I expect he'll be active some weeks. I don't know if it'll be this week, if it'll be a late add to the roster. We'll see what they do there. But the big thing is to me, especially for this team, is that you got to feel good about the O-line and the running backs, and that's going to be their bread and butter. They're going to play to their strengths. And we've seen enough teams that don't do that. We've seen enough Jets coaches where even when you have a couple of things that are good, they don't even utilize those. We're pretty good at this. We suck at everything else, but we're not going to do that thing a whole lot that we're good at. I've said so many times, I feel like sometimes they just overcomplicate things and make things more difficult than they need to be. But hopefully that's not the case with Aaron Glenn as he makes his debut Sunday as the Jets head coach. As I said, we'll be back tomorrow night to break down the key matchups for this game. Just wanted to go over tonight, group by group or position group by position group, where we're at, how we feel about this. And maybe at the end of the year, we'll look back at this one and I'll come back and critique it myself and say, here's where I was right, here's where I was wrong, and have a little fun with that. But that'll wrap this one up. Thanks for tuning in, checking us out. Thanks for engaging in the chat. We'll catch you tomorrow night, Jets fans, for a Jets-Steelers preview. Have a good one, Jets fans.